Texas Tech looks to get back on track in their Big 12 home opener against a couple of familiar faces in Dana Holgorsen and Donovan Smith. In today's video, we will discuss the 3 keys to the game for the Red Raiders to move to 2-3 on the season and hopefully get their season headed in the right direction. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, just simply like the video. If you're liking what we're doing here on the channel, we're giving you daily Texas Tech videos, whether that's game previews, 3 keys to the game, film breakdown, long-form podcast, and much, much more. You're going to want to stay in the know right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community here on YouTube, the Back to 12 podcast channel. And all you have to do is simply like the video and let us know. All right. Before we get into the keys of the game, for me specifically against Houston, I want to hear from you guys. Leave your score prediction down below. Texas Tech, as it stands right now, is 10-point favorites. I know that is shocking to a lot of people in Red Raider Nation, but maybe it's just a tell of how good Vegas thinks Texas Tech is at home. Let me know your score prediction down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's jump in to the keys to the game for Texas Tech as they try and get back on track and get win number 1 in the Big 12 after a disappointing performance out in Morgantown. All right, key number 1, quick and decisive passing attack. What do I mean by that? First and foremost, just make things easy for Behren Morton, right? That's a big thing. This O-line has struggled to pass block really for even 2 seconds. Just make it simple for him, right? In the sense of 1 or 2 reads tops, and just go out and throw the football and use your athleticism after that. Now, you're also going to use Tahj Brooks. Don't get it twisted, and we'll talk about him here in just a little bit. But if you're going to pass the football, you're going to have to take shots down the field, obviously, but set them up primarily with quick, short, and intermediate passes that allow Behren Morton to get into a rhythm and allow the Texas Tech offensive line not to have to really feel like they have to do more than they should in terms of holding that pass protection up for more than 2.5, 3 seconds, right? Quick and decisive passes from Behren Morton in this one. And I think you're going to see some potential screens to the outside, whether that's with Bradley, Price, McCray, whoever it may be, Xavier White, Nehemiah Martinez even, right? Like, I think you're going to see that, but don't get it twisted. There will be some times where Texas Tech takes some shots downfield. I just think it'll be set up primarily with those quick 1 or 2 read offensive passing attacks in terms of allowing Behren Morton to, really not have to worry about the pressure that's going to come to his face. But from what we've seen, the first, third of the season when it comes to this offensive line, and simple and plain, it's been bad. I mentioned this is one of those games where you have to get Behren Morton into a rhythm early if you're Texas Tech, right? Obviously, the run game is going to help with that, but I also think those quick passes, right? I would love to see some RPOs where you have the tight end going across in motion before this ball is actually snapped. There's a route out to the flat where he can be available, but also maybe just a quick drag or maybe a quick slant from Jerron Bradley. Use your big body wide receivers and playmakers in this game for those quick and decisive passing attack options. And it'll open up things for Tahj Brooks, who, again, we'll talk about here in just a second. All right, speaking of the offense, I've got to ask, blank is the most frustrating aspect of the Texas Tech offense so far this season, right? Is it the play calling for you? Is it the offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback play? Let me know down in the comments below what has been most frustrating to you. Only you. There's no wrong answers here in terms of the Texas Tech offense so far this season. All right, key number 2 to the game. Got to win in the trenches. Simple and plain. Talked about the offensive line in key number 1, but it's not just on them. Texas Tech has struggled mightily both on the offensive line and the defensive line this year. We'll start with the offensive line and say this, right? The offensive line, simple and plain, they just have to be better in pass protection. They've done a pretty solid job in the run game. Tahj Brooks has made some guys miss, but overall, the offensive line that was highly touted this offseason is done pretty awful. Let's just call a spade, right? It's been awful in terms of pass protection, and it has really hampered Texas Tech ability to really do anything in the passing game outside of maybe the deep shot here or there when the defense doesn't expect it, and now you're starting to see boxes stacked. You cannot have boxes stacked against Tahj Brooks right now because your wide receivers are not creating separation on the outside. Sure, you like a one-on-one option with Jerron Bradley, but outside of that, who are you trusting in the jump ball situation? not many guys in that wide receiver room, right? So you got to get better in pass pro if you're Texas Tech. And it's going to be no easy feat in this one because, again, one of the best pass rushers in the Big 12 is on the Houston Cougars on their defensive line in Nelson Caesar. Might even go have a Caesar salad after this for lunch. But in all honesty, that's the guy you have to know, right? Like that is the guy you have to know, just like on the Texas Tech defensive line. The Houston Cougars have to know where Tony Bradford and Jalen Hutchins are at all times. Outside of those two guys, maybe Miles Cole, but really those are the only three that defenses have had to worry about so far this season. The defensive line has to get to Donovan Smith, simple and plain, and they have to stay in their pass rush lanes. They have to be smart with that, right? You think about this season and the games that the pass rush has been there, at least for stretches, right? Oregon, no, because they were not very good in their pass lanes. Same thing when it came to Wyoming, right? Tarleton, okay, it's FCS school. I get it. Against West Virginia, you saw a few plays here and there, but it was from the inside. You've got to get guys on the outside, and Miles Cole, Steve Linton, he's got to show up eventually. Joseph Adedire, guys like that. You've got to get some pressure on the outside, specifically to Donovan Smith. Because if you don't pressure Donovan Smith and he has time in the pocket, we know as Texas Tech fans, hey, what can he do? Go look last year. When Donovan Smith was good, he had time in the pocket to register things, and then he could go run out and create havoc when there was really good secondary coverage, right? If Donovan Smith is not pressured, this is going to be an absolute field day for him and his return to the 806. All right, one more time, simply like the video if you haven't already. It goes a long way in terms of supporting the channel, and it really means a lot to us that you'd spend some time during the day just listening to, well, I guess me ramble on about Texas Tech football. I know it hasn't gone the way that people wanted to early on, but we appreciate you guys staying with us and liking the video and really just enjoying the content we're putting out there. It really means a lot to us. All right, let's talk about key to the game number 3 here, because I think this is pretty obvious and a lot of people have called for it. Run the damn ball. RTDB, right? Insert the Sandra Bullock from the Blind Side gif where she's calling up the coach saying, run the damn ball, right? But in all seriousness, right? Tahj Brooks is your best playmaker on offense. It's not up for debate. He's your best playmaker. Does it help that you don't have to throw him the football? You just hand it to him? Yeah, it does, because of the offensive line and some of the, well, inconsistencies, I guess I should say, from the wide receivers. He has to get north of 18 touches in this game, if not more, maybe 20. And Zach Kittley, early on in the week, he did say that they are going to ride the hot hand in Tahj Brooks, and he's going to be the main focal point of the offense this week, right? But he has to be on the field a ton, in the sense that, first and foremost, he's got to get touches, right? He's averaging 7 yards a carry. He's on pace for over 1,200 rushing yards, right? He is now on pace also to be a top 8 rusher in program history as it stands right now. And again, I think when you look at what Texas Tech has done well, it's the offensive line getting a push in the run game. You have to use Tahj Brooks, and not only him, Cameron Valdez as well, right? But when it comes down to it, Tahj Brooks is going to be on the field a lot, not only getting touches, but in the pass protection game and as an extra blocker, because he is really good at that. Joey McGuire has talked about it ad nauseum so far this season, that's why they hadn't really used Tahj as much as they did at West Virginia. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think they're going to use tight ends more frequently now in pass protection and run protection as well, because you have to, because your offensive line just hasn't been good enough, simple and plain. Right. And so now Tahj Brooks is going to get in the neighborhood of 18 plus touches a game, and you're going to have to see what you can do with him, because right now you've got a QB2 in there, and Behren Morton, who I know a lot of people viewed him as QB1 throughout the whole offseason. He is now, due to the Tyler Shuck injury, but he doesn't have a ton of experience. Tahj Brooks can go in there and really just alleviate some of the pressure that Behren Morton could have on his shoulders due to being QB1 for probably the remainder of the season. So give Tahj Brooks the ball early and often if you're Texas Tech. And also just let the running backs cook for Houston, right? I mean, obviously, mainly we're talking about Tahj Brooks here, right? But also get Cameron Valdez involved. Get some other guys involved as well. Nehemiah Martinez out of the backfield. Whatever it may be, just run the damn ball. It's that simple. What's also simple is you guys let me know your score prediction down in the comments below. And one more time, if you haven't already, simply like the video. It goes a long way, and we really appreciate y'all spending some of your day listening to the most engaging Texas Tech YouTube channel there is right now today. Be a part of it. Like the video and hit that subscribe button while you're at it too, to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.